What would you say is the biggest organism to be found in nature so far? Is it maybe an elephant? No. Is it a blue whale? That would be most people's guess. But in reality, the biggest one identified so far is several hundred tons, and it's as big as 4 square miles, and it exists in the Blue Mountains of Oregon. And it is something called a mycorrhiza. And that is a fungus that's actually found within the soil. And it turns out we have fungus in all of our soils that actually have a symbiotic relationship with plants. The roots descend down into the soil, and between those roots are all these little filaments of fungus that actually helps mobilize, introduce certain enzymes, and allow the plant, the vascular plant, to pull nutrients out of the soil. And this is something that nature is just beginning to discover. Typically, we think of all fungus as being bad and evil, just like we thought of for a while, all bacteria being bad. But actually, fungus serves certain functions within plants, and potentially, I'm guessing they're going to find the same thing within humans eventually. Science slowly catches up with the wisdom found in nature. And so the trees that you find behind me, you might say that the branches, trees, the needles of a pine tree are the biggest part of the plant. Well, no, actually it's probably the fungus found within the soil. Mycorrhizae, as they're called in plural. And nature is full of this breathtaking synergy or interaction between the various parts. And you would never guess, if you saw the same degree of structure and order found with anything man would make, you would never guess that it was designed without intelligence. For instance, in our hometown here, you would never guess that all the infrastructure of the sewage, of the streets, of the city lights, of the sheriff's office, the police department, the fire department, and all the other different functions of the city, you would never guess that they just blindly exploded into existence without some degree of intelligence. You know, there's intelligence and structure and order. And same thing with something like a tree found within nature. Of course, trees are not wholly in and of themselves. They can be harvested and used. We don't have to be a tree hugger to actually believe that there's intelligence within nature. But same thing with our bodies. Our bodies have an intelligence, keeping order. All the different atoms with electrons, neutrons, protons are different energy states that are held together by massive force. And those atoms form molecules that are orchestrated to serve certain functions. The structure of water, for instance. Our bodies are over 70% water, and we couldn't survive without that being a major transport device for other molecules. And then you have all the organ systems that are subdivided into organs. What is organ the root word of? Organized. And our bodies have an immense amount of intelligence locked within them, of self-healing mechanisms that so often, instead of trusting, we second guess and we doubt, and we want a potion for every emotion and a pill for every ill. And we have to start trusting that innate intelligence locked within you, locked within your body. And I never cease to be amazed as a healthcare practitioner with the self-healing mechanisms locked within the people that come in and out of our office. We all know of stories, for instance, of people with spontaneous remissions from cancer, what they call spontaneous remissions. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen occasionally. And in part, that is attributed to the immune system and the body's capacity to fight disease and somehow put the pieces back together. So remember, you have a giant locked within you. Hopefully it's not a fungus, but it is that innate intelligence that has a capacity to put the pieces of your life back together. Start trusting that inborn innate intelligence.